Well, good morning, Facebook and all the world. David our day here. Let's sit back and have a cup of coffee, you and I and the coffee mates, and we'll just see what we can talk about. Today's going to be kind of interesting show. I've got a couple of things. One really light and one, well, I wouldn't call it heavy, but it's certainly an inspiring story of someone who has survived far greater difficulties than we're dealing with now. I want to talk about taking a day off, which I did yesterday. Thank you all for indulging me in that day off. And, I want to talk about what you can do on your virtual day off. We're in these crazy times, so we're always stuck at home. So normally we go home for a day off. So how are we going to deal with that? We're going to talk about that. And then I want to talk about a very inspiring story about one of the coffee mates, my longtime friend, Mark Dunham, sent me a blog. Good morning, Facebook, and all the world. David our day here. It's got an interesting perspective. Let's sit back and talk about that. Have a cup of coffee. And as always, and the coffee mates, and we'll just see what's going on in the world. Today's going to be kind of interesting. Coronavirus, hunkered down in the bunker. One really light. Stay at home, shelter at home, lockdown. I need to get a little closer to my microphone, I bet. So, someone who has here's the thing. Survived far greater difficulties. Oh man, I got no idea what's on here. So, let me wander over here to the comments. Good morning to Peter and Bill and Sharon and Wendy and Judy Peavy Durr's on here. Chris Carlson, Andy Spencer, and Zig. Welcome you all. This is what I call Heard Over Coffee. Every morning at 9:30, well, every morning, but Sundays now, I think I'm going to continue to take those off. I do this. I just talk a little bit about what's going on in my world, what's going on in your world. We drink a cup of coffee, we hang out for 15, 20 minutes, kind of get the day started positively. I was going to talk about some of the crazy stuff that's going on around how this virus may or may not be real. Believe me, it's real. Something like 1,500 reported cases in Idaho. I think we're rapidly reaching the... can't remember the number of deaths, but it's significant. This is not baloney. This is not something to blow off and pretend isn't true. It's true. There's an interesting video by a MIT PhD out there. He used to be married to Fran Drescher, the nanny, and he goes on for about 15 or 20 minutes about how all the scientists, the guys who actually have medical degrees, are wrong, and he's right. I wasn't going to go into that. I did anyway. Sorry. I try not to get political. So let's talk about this day I had. So yesterday, I took the day off, and it was wonderful. Now, it's kind of hard to take a day off, but I was so lucky. Let's see here if I can find it. Where are you? Uh-oh. Well, I was going to show you a beautiful picture of my wife, but it's being covered up by that little screen. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, that's Mark. Wrong one. Let's try this. There we go. So yesterday, I was lucky enough to be able to cook with my lovely wife. It was sad. Easter's a big deal in my family. Normally, there's a whole herd of us get together at my sister's house. We had 20 and a deer last year. It was fantastically fun. But we decided that we were going to go ahead and break it out and do it right. So my wife does two things very well. My wife does a billion things very, very well. But when it comes to cooking, she makes an excellent apple pie. She uses the old-fashioned Betty Crocker, the cookbook with the wonderful checkerboard plaid pattern on it. It's the recipe my mother used, and as you can see in that picture, my beautiful wife had that beautiful pie. She also makes green bean casserole, which is very, very fantastic. So I made some kind of a teriyaki chicken, and we sat down to a full meal, and it was fantastic. We've been kind of eating on the run, but I've been cooking most nights, but still, it was really nice to just settle down and have a wonderful meal with my wife yesterday. And my adults, my Kara and Dawn came by, dropped off a pack of little Easter basket. I missed that. I FaceTimed with my daughter. It truly, truly was a day off. So if you're going to take a day off, which I highly recommend, it really wasn't that big. It's kind of the, it's No, Cindy, it's a tiny woman, not a big pie. Ooh, I get points for that, wouldn't I? Yeah, no, it's the optical illusion. Shoot, the pie was obviously closer to the camera. It's a normal size, probably 12-inch pie pan. But man, I'm going to have it for lunch, and I'm probably going to have some for dinner because I didn't have to share with all my crazy relatives. It was fantastic. So, this highly recommended staycation I'm talking about, this take a day off. It's kind of hard because you can't remove yourself. You can't really go anywhere. We can't go out and, vacate or go to the Bahamas. So, what do? Here's what I recommend. Step away from your screen. You can do that after the show is over, but step away from your screen, unplug your devices, and just chill. And maybe watch a movie. Maybe do the Facebook and chill thing, or watch something on Disney Plus or Hulu or whatever. But just chill. Don't do your normal work. We've gotten to the point where we can actually work 24/7 if we want. I know my friend Robert. I'm not sure whether he's here or not. I'm not sure whether. Well, no, I think it's 12 inches. Good morning, Mark. How are you? It's a big pie, but it's not a huge pie. So, as I was saying, disconnect from your screens. The other thing is, you might want to think about if you normally cook, maybe you shouldn't cook. Order something out. Go if you even do the Papa John's pizza or something, but do something special. Do something a little different. If you normally cook, order out. If you normally order out, cook. See what I'm saying? Got that. So here's one. Indulge your partner. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, but indulge your partner. But just hang out. Sit down and talk to them. Here's something that I plan to do. Take a book, go out in your front yard, and just read for a while. What a luxury is that? In the olden times, a couple of months ago, it was very hard to break out enough time to read. I normally read a little bit in the morning. My friend Michael says that he's doing a little garden. Yeah, it's perfect for a day off. Just get out there, hang out, commune with your plants. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Michael. Peter Cohen says simplify. I know very few people, period, who have a simpler life than Peter, so I don't know how that changes. But here's something you might want to try. Meditate. I used to meditate on a regular basis, but it got to be hard to chunk out a whole hour or even the 15 or 20 minutes. I'm trying really hard to get back into it. It's a stepping process for me. I have a really hard time calming my mind, but I did spend a little time working on meditation yesterday. I find it very rewarding when I get it done. Again, whatever your normal routine or your new normal routine, I guess I'm saying is, take some time off. Separate yourself from that. And maybe you want to indulge. Maybe you want to eat some of that Easter candy. Go ahead. And I'm going to mention walk the dog or the cat or whatever. Get some time out. Logan says you should. Let's see, I'm getting better at this. See if I can do this. Logan says support your local restaurants. Takeout is absolutely still a thing, especially for some of us. I'm probably going to do a Papa, whichever one it is, where you take and bake pizza tonight because. Hell no, I'm not, because I'm going to eat pie. One of these days. 30, okay. I have to remember that not everybody is in beautiful, sunny Boise, Idaho. Wendy Lee says, that's what I'll call you. I'll call you Wendy Lee. Wendy Lee says it's 37 degrees. She's not gonna hang out in a bikini in your front yard, my friend? Come on. That doesn't seem right. All right. I agree. But this is... I don't know what... this list of what you... I could probably do that. Cindy, maybe I'll try to figure that out. Okay, one more thing. Start a personal project. Something that you've been thinking, oh man, I wish I had time to do, whatever that is. I was inspired so much this weekend. I wrote not one, not two, but I got 3 stories for my book started. I don't know what happened. I wrote a kind of a silly, almost a bloggy post about how I couldn't write anymore. And then all of a sudden, boom, it showed up. So maybe taking that little time off, maybe that was what did it. I got out of the rat race, the rut. There you go. So find a project, maybe even if it's silly. It's only 35 in Boise today. It wasn't that cold. I walked the dog. You're crazy, Cindy. It's way nicer than that out there. Uh, it'll warm up. It's going to get 50, 60. So maybe you don't hang out in the backyard. Maybe you have a porch, or maybe you just, whatever. So I think it's a pretty good idea. Good morning, Amanda. How are you? So one more. I think I've probably one more you to death. I talked about surprise your spouse. Maybe when they walk in, if they work, maybe when they get home, you have some music on, you spin them around the kitchen floor a little, just to do a little dance like you would in the old days. But do something nice. If they're just in the next room, and I've noticed that most of us who are partnered up, one of us has a room here, one of us has a room there. Maybe one's at the coffee table, one's back in the bedroom. So knock on their door, knock on their office, and go say hello. Drag them out, spin them around the kitchen floor or the living room, do a little dance. And that brings up one of my favorite things, probably the favorite thing of all. Hang on a second. Find something good. Dig out your old CDs. Find your old CD stack, and maybe you go out and, dig that 8-track tape out of your car. Put some old music. Put on some stuff that you haven't listened to in a while, and just chill out. Dan Creechy, who shows up here occasionally, is a big. He likes albums for some reason. He likes that old scratchy vinyl sound. So I'm not sure why, but put on something you haven't looked. Search through your CDs or your 8-tracks or your vinyl or whatever it is, and find some music you haven't heard for a while. So just do that. But the whole point of this whole thing is take some time off, because this is stressful. This is weird, this new normal of ours, sitting in our rooms, in our basements, a lot of people are doing some crazy stuff like working from their closets. If you've seen all the great videos from Saturday Night Live, was hilarious, by the way. Not the intro by Tom Hanks fell a little flat, but some of the skits, as always with Saturday Night, were absolutely fantastic. Oh, there's a cow in my face. Yeah, heard. Haha, over coffee. All right, now I want to talk about something really inspiring. As you know, and it's at the very top of the comments, I figured out how to put this comment. I have a friend whose name is Mark Dunham. I have known him a long, long time. I might get choked up on this one because it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's a story of survival. If you get a chance to read his blog, do that, but I'm going to cover it. So imagine that you're not just self-isolated, but you wake up, you've had a stroke, and you cannot communicate. And I don't mean that you just can't speak. You can't write, you can't type. You have absolutely no way to communicate at all. This is what happened to my friend Mark. Now, Mark and I were young bucks. I was in the real estate business starting, I believe I was 19, maybe 20 when I started. I was, for a while, one of the youngest brokers in the state, probably one of the youngest brokers in the country. I got a real estate degree. I went into the family business, Day Realty. I was really hard at it. Long story short, I wasn't all that good at it, but I worked at it very hard. There were almost nobody when I was in the real estate business who was younger than I am. So I was very, very much in tune with Mark. His family were builders. In fact, they built Mark built my Uncle Ernie's house. So he has been at this a long time. But what would your identity be if you couldn't speak? I don't know what I do. I mean, this is kind of what I do, but worse than that, Mark was a lobbyist for a living. His job was to speak and to influence people and give presentations and talk to. So all of a sudden, Mark was not able to communicate at all due to a stroke. There's a fancy word for it. I tried really hard to learn it. I did not figure it out. Mark, if you want to chime in and tell me exactly what it is that how to describe your condition, I would appreciate that. If you don't, I would also. So he is truly the champion of self-isolation. Now, again, I posted the comments here. So let's talk a little bit about in April of January, or in January of 2012, Mark says that I lost my ability to communicate. My job, my security, what I thought was my identity. Despite my strength, the strokes did not prepare me for the catastrophic isolation that ensued. Now, guys, this isn't all sad, so I just want to talk a little bit about that. Aphasia, I believe. He could not communicate. He had the literal loss of his voice, which was horrifying, as you can imagine. So he was always a people person. He loved to laugh, which is very true. And he relished making speeches, presentations, and testifying at the legislature. But he had invisible brain scars. 20% of his brain, he says, 20% of his brain was dead. As a result, many of my friends were so sad about losing the happy Mark that they subtly drifted away. But what do you think happened? He made some choices. He got out. He created a society for this particular thing. He's now back at it. Here, let's do this here. There we go. Thank you, Mark, for putting this in here. Let's see if I can get it. Yes. And I really want to have to thank Mark for doing this. I was going to try to work up a Zoom, but I just decided that with all the, and of course I am doing this with Mark's permission, so thank you very much. So he made some choices over the years. He stepped back a little. Of course, he lost his job, but he created a foundation. He is on the board of the College of Western Idaho. He has rebuilt his life, even though for a while he was so isolated that he could not speak. There is a true tale of survival here. And tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about how to survive, not only survive, but thrive. And Mark is a great example of that. Even in a situation where he had crushing disabilities, could not speak. If you know me, you can imagine how hard that would be on me. He was still able to rebuild, but he learned some things. In his blog, he talks about how he got closer to his family. He fought through it. As you can tell, he can speak and write. He's now able to communicate better, but it took some work. And that's my point here. We've got a little inconvenience. Yeah, we have to stay home. We don't get to go to the store every 15 minutes. I didn't get whipped cream on my apple pie because we forgot to buy it. It was sad. How tragic is that? Well, it's nowhere near the tragedy we're talking about my friend Mark had. He literally could not speak, but yet here it is 8 years later, and he has found a way to survive and thrive. That's the message here. So when this pandemic is over, and other people are going to go back to their old habits. But this is from Mark. He said, I hope that people will reflect on the situation. People need to contemplate what is really important in life. Social distancing was a shocker for people who took their jobs, parents, kids, friends, neighbors, grocery cashiers, like my friend Tim March, barbers, waitstaff, etc., for granted. So here's the point, folks. This is tough. This is hard. And for some of us, it's really only just kind of inconvenient, but it's still difficult. My point is, and I wanted you to deeply think about this man, my friend Mark Dunham, who took his circumstances, which are far worse than ours, are far more socially isolating than ours, and he found a way to thrive. So here's your do something good. When this is all over, I've gone a little long. Sorry. When this is all over, when we're in that situation where we have to find a way to get back to the new normal, let's not forget the people that stuck with us. Let's not forget the nurses. Let's not forget the doctors, the frontline people, the businesses who managed to stay open, or sadly the businesses who had to do the tough thing and close so to protect themselves, their employees, and of course the public. Stay safe, stay inside, and when this is all over, let's hope there's a new revolution. I'm really, really thinking that maybe all of this is gonna help us become a better society. We've got some big challenges ahead. We're going to have to make some political decisions. We're going to have to make some economic decisions. But this can be a good thing. I'm thoroughly believed, and it did take some time off because I was kind of got a wah, me, sad kind of thing going for a while. But honestly, I believe we can not only survive all of this, but thrive as my good friend Mark Dunham did. Again, folks, I want to thank Mark. I appreciate him having the courage to share all this and the courage to allow me to talk about it. If you got any questions for me, a couple of you have reached out to me directly, which I greatly appreciate. Thanks to Tina and to Zig and somebody else, a couple others. Miguel Hunka Burn Love, who apparently is not on today. But folks, these are good times. We've been thinking about them. Excuse me. I've been thinking about them as bad times. They're good times. We have an opportunity to completely change our world. We've learned a lot. I think maybe that's the question, or that's what we need to do. So I greatly appreciate you all. I appreciate the ability to do this. I'm glad I didn't quit. I'm glad you encouraged me to keep at it. So here we are. Turd of a coffee. I'm David Arday, a fine art and commercial photographer. I do this every single morning, except for Sundays, at 9:30 a.m. Boise time. I hope you will join me tomorrow. A little bit more. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, you are more than welcome. Mark, thank you for sharing this. I do this every single morning. Tomorrow will not be quite so heavy. We're going to talk about how to not only survive, but thrive in this crazy world, this new normal we have. Thanks to my wife for cooking me pie. Thanks all of you for joining me. And I'll see you tomorrow. I'm out.